In the cradle of dawn, where the sky meets the sea, a bird takes flight in its heart, a key to unlock the chains. With the wind to be free, across dangerous skies it soars full of glee. With an eye on nature, time starts to bend. An arc of moral humanity we can't comprehend. Into the boundless sky our spirits we send. On the wings of the human me, our souls ascend. Fly into the sunset, where new horizons blaze. Belong to the moment, in the sun's final gaze. Escape into twilight, through the sky's endless maze. The freedom of a bird, in the human being's grace. Face gray into twilight, through the skies endless maze. The freedom of a bird, in the human means grace. Through storms and the silence, under moon's watchful eyes, past whispers of stars in the velvet night skies. Each beat of its wings, a story that ties the heart of the wild, where true freedom lies. When nature's hand paints the canvas anew, in strokes of the wind, in the shades of the blue. Through the human need we see the view, a bending of time. In the light we pursue, fly into the sunset, where new dreams are born. In the heart of the storm, where we're reborn. Escape into twilight, where no heart is torn. The freedom of a bird, in the dawn's early morn. An eye on the infinite, where horizons blend. Through the arc of a journey that never ends. In the grasp of the wind, where our spirits mend. The song of the bird, with the sky it wends. Fly into the sunset, where new dreams are born. In the heart of the storm, where we're reborn. Escape into twilight, where no heart is torn. The freedom of a bird, in the dawn's early morn. In the silence of night, under starlight's embrace, a bird finds peace in a new resting place. With freedom to belong, across time and space. In the boundless sky, it leaves no trace.
Hi there, and welcome to the Human Meme Podcast. I'm your host, AI David Bowles, and along with our crackbot AI research team, we will share some thoughts with you today on this topic. Why don't speak ill of the dead is an outdated cultural tradition. The idea of not speaking ill of the dead is a deeply rooted cultural and historical construct, and its origins and evolution provide significant insight into the ways societies shape their collective memories. This concept, often summarized in the Latin phrase de mortui, nihil nisi bonum, of the dead, nothing but good should be said, has existed for millennia, emerging from an interplay of morality, religious beliefs, and the need for social cohesion. Yet, as with many long-held traditions, the context and purpose of this custom have shifted over time. While it originally served to maintain societal order and respect for the dead, today's world requires a more nuanced approach, one that allows us to critically assess the legacies of the deceased, especially those who wielded significant power and influence. The notion of not speaking ill of the dead likely dates back to ancient civilizations. In classical Greece, the concept was formalized by Cylon of Sparta, one of the 7 sages, who is credited with the phrase, "Mi then kakon legintus tethniota," do not speak ill of the dead. The rationale was twofold. First, it was considered unfair to criticize someone who could no longer defend themselves. And second, it was believed that speaking ill of the dead could disturb their peace in the afterlife. In Roman culture, this principle evolved into de mortuis, nihil nisi bonum, reflecting a similar moral sentiment, that once a person has passed away, any ill feelings should be laid to rest as well. The practice also has roots in religious beliefs. In Christianity, the emphasis on forgiveness and the idea that final judgment is reserved for God plays a significant role in promoting the notion that one should not speak ill of the dead. This belief aligns with the Christian ideals of mercy and redemption. Once a person has died, their actions are viewed within the greater narrative of salvation. In other traditions, like ancient Egypt's, the afterlife was perceived as a continuation of existence, where one's reputation could influence their eternal fate. Speaking ill of the dead could be seen as a way of cursing or diminishing the deceased's standing in the world beyond. Culturally, the practice has been a means of preserving social harmony. By refraining from criticizing the dead, societies could avoid conflicts and bitterness between families, clans, or communities. Death often served as a natural closure to enmities. Continuing grudges or resentments against the deceased could threaten communal peace. This societal contract, where silence is a form of respect, has allowed communities to move forward after loss without reopening old wounds. Over time, however, there have been notable shifts in this tradition, where the critical examination of the dead's legacy became necessary, even morally imperative. 3 historical examples illustrate how the custom of not speaking ill of the dead was challenged and transformed. Following the execution of Louis XVI and Marie Antoinette, the French populace and intellectuals did not hesitate to malign the memory of the monarchy. The king and queen were vilified in death for their perceived tyranny and excesses, which were seen as contributing to the suffering of the French people. This public denouncement was not just an act of rebellion, but a critical rethinking of history. The posthumous critique of these figures served to legitimize the revolution and highlight the corruption of the old regime. Here, speaking ill of the dead was a necessary step toward societal change. After World War II, the world had to grapple with the atrocities committed under Adolf Hitler's regime. Although many high-ranking Nazis had died by the end of the war, The Nuremberg trials explicitly condemned them, detailing their crimes against humanity. The process of denouncing these figures in death was not about vengeance. It was about historical truth and justice. By publicly confronting the legacy of Hitler and his followers, the world sought to ensure that such horrors would not be repeated. Silence or polite avoidance would have been a moral failure. In recent years, historical figures like Cecil Rhodes and Christopher Columbus have been reassessed with a spotlight on the violence, exploitation, and racism they propagated. Though long dead, these individuals have been increasingly condemned for their actions, which were previously glossed over or celebrated. This reevaluation often involves removing statues and renaming institutions, symbolizing a cultural shift away from honoring figures whose legacies are now seen as harmful. The debate surrounding these actions reveals a growing willingness to speak ill of the dead when it serves the purpose of social justice and historical accuracy. The principle of not speaking ill of the dead is increasingly seen as outdated and counterproductive, especially when it involves public figures whose actions have had lasting negative consequences. There are compelling reasons why we must feel free to critique the dead, particularly when their legacies continue to shape our present and future. First, history demands honesty. The notion of preserving a sanitized version of someone's life after they've died is a disservice to those who suffered under their influence. It creates a false narrative that can be perpetuated across generations, allowing harmful ideologies to persist. For example, the continued glorification of Confederate generals in the United States has, for many years, contributed to the romanticization of the lost cause and the denial of the true horrors of slavery. Speaking honestly about these figures, yes, even ill of the dead, is necessary for correcting the historical record and promoting justice. Second, the idea of protecting the dead from criticism often shields those in power. When we allow the not speaking ill principle to dictate public discourse, we end up enabling the powerful to escape accountability, even posthumously. Figures like Henry Kissinger, who only recently passed away, are prime examples. His policies, which led to suffering in Southeast Asia and Latin America, are still debated. If we refuse to speak ill of him simply because he is dead, we obscure the reality of his actions and prevent an honest reckoning with history. Third, future generations need clarity, not sentimentality. A major function of history is to serve as a guide for those who come after us. Sugarcoating or omitting the dark sides of influential people's legacies leads to an incomplete understanding of how we arrived at the present moment. Consider the debates around the legacies of people like Andrew Jackson or Winston Churchill. These figures are often praised for certain achievements while their roles in promoting oppression are downplayed. Speaking critically, yes, even harshly, about their flaws is necessary to paint an accurate picture for those who study history. The past must not be overly polished. It must be remembered as it was in all its complexity. Finally, refusing to speak ill of the dead can perpetuate the very injustices we claim to oppose. By selectively forgetting the transgressions of the deceased, we allow their harmful ideologies and practices to remain unchallenged. This creates a space where dangerous ideas can be quietly resurrected. The ongoing debates about figures like Columbus or Rhodes are not just academic. They are about whether we allow the past's evils to shape the present. By critically examining and, when necessary, condemning these figures, we lay bare the roots of systemic problems that still haunt us. The tradition of not speaking ill of the dead is deeply ingrained, rooted in religious, moral, and cultural practices that emphasize respect, forgiveness, and social harmony. However, in the context of today's complex social dynamics, where historical truth and justice are more critical than ever, this principle must be reconsidered. History's duty is not to preserve the comfort of the dead, but to illuminate the truth for the living. Speaking ill of those who were truly harmful is not a breach of decorum. It is a necessary act of honesty and moral courage. The future needs clear eyes and sharp criticism of the past, even if it requires breaking a long-standing tradition. Silence may be polite, but it can also be complicit. And in the face of injustice, even in death, truth must take precedence over tradition. For the Human Meme Podcast, I'm AI David Bowles, wishing you a safe evening and a better tomorrow. Be a human meme.
In the cradle of dawn, where the sky meets the sea, a bird takes flight in its heart, a key to unlock the chains, with the wind to be free. Across dangerous skies it soars, full of glee. With an eye on nature, time starts to bend, an arc of moral humanity we can't comprehend. Into the boundless sky our spirits we send, on the wings of the human meme our souls ascend. Fly into the sunset, where new horizons blaze. Belong to the moment, in the sun's final gaze. Escape into twilight, through the sky's endless maze. The freedom of a bird, in the human being's grace. Face gray into twilight, through the skies endless maze. The freedom of a bird, in the human meme's grace. Through storms and the silence, under moon's watchful eyes, past whispers of stars in the velvet night skies. Each beat of its wings, a story that ties the heart of the wild, where true freedom lies. When nature's hand paints the canvas anew, in strokes of the wind, in the shades of the blue. Through the human meme we see the view, a bending of time. In the light we pursue, fly into the sunset, where new dreams are born. In the heart of the storm, where we're reborn. Escape into twilight, where no heart is torn. The freedom of a bird, in the dawn's early morn. An eye on the infinite, where horizons blend. Through the arc of a journey that never ends. In the grasp of the wind, where our spirits mend. The song of the bird, with the sky it wends. Fly into the sunset, dawns early morn. In the silence of night, under starlight's embrace, a bird finds peace in a new resting place, with freedom to belong across time and space. In the boundless sky, it leaves no